So welcome to the 6th of the EONS Young Cancer Nurse webinar. Today we're going to talk about education. I'm Celia. I'm one of the young cancer nurses, and I'm the representative of education group for the young cancer nurses. It's a pleasure for me to be presenting these wonderful speakers and to be chairing the session with Nicolina, that I will let herself introduce herself in a second. I'm an advanced practitioner from Spain, and I'm going to introduce you one of the first speakers, that is Eugenia Trigoso. Both Eugenia and Wendy are wonderful professionals and better people, so I'm very happy to be presenting them. Eugenia is a pediatric oncology and hematology nurse in the hospital La Fe in Valencia, and she has been a nurse there for more than 30 years. She's doing that and teaching young cancer nurses, and she feels that that's what she likes the most and knows best. She is as well a pediatric nurse lecturer in Valencia University and is teacher in the Master in Oncology Nursing. She feels that we all should be sharing what we know. It should be mandatory to share our knowledge and skills rather than keeping them to ourselves. So she as well has been a volunteer nurse and teacher in India and Latin America. Welcome, Eugenia.
Thanks, Celia. Good
Nicolina?
evening.
Welcome, everybody. Good evening. I'm Nicolina Dodlek from Croatia, and I'm really honored to co-chair this webinar. I'm currently working at a Department for Oncology in the inpatient unit at the University Hospital Center, Osijek, Croatia, and also as a part-time teaching assistant at the Faculty for Dental Health and Medicine. I'm a part of Young Cancer Nurses Network now for a year and a half, thanks to Amanda. And I will introduce a second speaker for this evening, Dr. Wendy McInally. She is a senior for children and young people's nursing, and also a field lead for children and young people's nursing curriculum at the Open University. With her knowledge, skills, and expertise, developed over 30 years in clinical practice and educational delivery environments across the United Kingdom and internationally, she has built a comprehensive practice, education, and research portfolio around children and young people. She is also a part of the Faculty of Wellbeing, Education, and Language Studies. She works alongside with other academics, health and social care professionals, and researchers on the undergraduate and postgraduate programs. She is a specialist nurse for children and young people with special expertise in cancer, and also a special focus on the teenagers living with cancer and their families or specific others. She is very passionate about evidence-based practice and research, and currently focused on leading the development and implementation of education concerning children and young people with cancer across the university. She is the lead for the new Children and Young People's Nursing undergraduate program across the 4 nations of the UK and the author for core modules. In addition, she leads a team of 10 colleagues at the Open University in Scotland and helping them to develop academically and support them in achieving their professional goals, such as writing for publication, undertaking research, and public engagement events. So before we hand over to fantastic speakers this evening, we will remind you that you have a question and answer part when you can write down your questions, and we will ask the speakers later after the sessions. So if you are ready, you can go now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolina and Celia. So we have been asked this evening to focus on both our careers really, and how we've developed over the span of the 30 years, and we're both very similar, Eugenia and I, and how we've actually ended up in education, as it were. So we want to take you on part of that journey. We've not got time to tell you all the journey because we've kept to a time of an hour, so we'll try our best to give you a snapshot of what it's been over the past 30 years. So, first of all, like all true academics, we set ourselves some learning outcomes of what we wanted to achieve by the end of this evening. So, as the slides say, we're going to provide some examples of materials, specifically around the importance of further education. We're also going to talk about both our experiences within cancer nursing, both within the United Kingdom and Spain, and focusing on these pathways that have taken us through practice, education and research. And obviously ending on highlighting the key educational opportunities that are available for all cancer nurses through EONS, the European Oncology Nursing Society. So the literature actually reports that many healthcare professionals and nurses indeed need education and preparation to care for patients and their families throughout the cancer trajectory. And they feel that this is an important part to make sure that we always deliver high quality patient care. And that's an important part of what we're going to talk about today. So why we do need to have educated and well-trained nurses and other health professionals to care for our patients and their families in our care. So over to you, Eugenia.
So, as all of us know, cancer is a key priority locally, national and internationally. All of us knows about it. Health and social care professionals require a range of specific knowledge, skills and experience to deliver complex care and regimes. Deliver evidence-based care and important for nurses for career progression. We have to be clear that it's the most important thing that we have. We need to work in evidence-based care for young nurses and for all nurses also. Is the most important thing for all of the nurses that they are working right now. And yours?
So we all know that education is important. Now, just to give you a little snapshot here of what education is like, should you want to embark on a career in nursing, in education in the UK. So when you first start, and that's what you want to do, and want to go off and do a degree programme, there was, it was probably 8 years ago now, we had a diploma as well, where you could go and train and be educated to be a nurse and come out with a diploma, but it's now an all degree programme. And that's the same across the whole of the UK. And when I talk about the whole of the UK, I'm talking about England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. And we're also talking about 4 fields of practice here. So this is quite unique in the United Kingdom, that we actually offer 4 fields of practice, which are mental health, children and young people, adult nursing and learning disability. But the other thing is that we have is a 2-year apprenticeship, but that's only within England at the moment. But we also have an array of continued professional development. So there are many courses post-graduation for nurses to go on and do a children and young people's cancer nursing course or adult focused. And again, I'm not going to go into them all today, but I'm going to give to Amanda after the session a list of courses that are currently available in the UK, just so that you can see that the different courses we've got for you. There's also our master's degree programme, which you can specialise in palliative care or advanced practice. And we've also got the route that some of us may want to go down, which is PhD, your traditional PhD, clinical doctorate, or you can achieve a PhD through published work or an MPhil. So you can see here that there's lots of different educational courses along the way, And just to let you know that I started on a 2-year programme, and I studied learning disability to begin with, and then I did a conversion, which was another 18 months on to child health. So I won't go into any more detail about myself for just now until we let Eugenia present education in Spain.
So the nurses' education in Spain is quite a bit different that has been done in UK. We have some bases similar, that is 4 years education. I have to say that when I started studying nurses, at that point has been 3 years, and after this that has been changed, and I have to study 1 more year in order to be 4 years educated nurses. In that case, you got the degree program, but when you finish your degree program, you are like a general nursing. That means there are not any specialty in that case. So you can work in any place. That means you are able to work in every kind of unit of the hospital. That is, you are a general nursing. After this, you can be a specialized nurse, and if you want to be specialized, you have first to get an exam, very competitive, and after this, study 2 more years. I did in pediatric, and at that point, these 2 years are theoretical and practicum. It's like a fellow, something like this. And you are studying for more 2 years. At that point, you are specialized. You could be specialized in mental health, in pediatric, and community. It's the 3 ones that there are nowadays in Spain. After this, also, you can have a master's degree. I did in bioethical, that I like the most, and in transplant. And next point could be there are big kind of different course that you can do by yourself. It's for free, and it's just if you want to learn more. But it's not that it's mandatory to do that. It's just because you want to be more trained. After this, if you want, you could be you can do the PhD or have a free educational project, but you have to take care because in Spain we have 17 different health systems, and in some way also there are 17 different ways of educated nurses. It's similar, but it's not the same. Okay?
Yeah, thank you. And also, I think that the point to make here is, and if I was to go back, and I know we can't turn back the clock because that's not a good thing to do. Well, we can't do that anyway, but it's good to reflect what would you have done different if you had your time again. And I would say that it's good to have a focus, stay focused, but also to have a clear path, because there's so many things out there, and to keep yourself on that path for your professional journey, as it were, is quite an important point for someone to. If you can't always, keep yourself on it, it's good to talk about it and think, well, where is it you want to see yourself in the next 5, 10 years, as it were? Yeah?
Yes.
So, now we're going to take a closer look, but as we've said, just a snapshot in time. And it's my own professional career first, and then I think we're going to have some questions from me first. So, like I said earlier, I started off within learning disabilities. I've always been interested in children and young people. I did nursery nursing before that, just as a college course. So I've always been interested in children and young people. Never really been interested in cancer until my grandma got it when she was in her 70s. She got thyroid cancer, and she kept saying to me, "Oh, I think you would make a very good nurse, Wendy." But off I went because I was so interested in children and young people with learning disabilities. And then I found myself within a children and young people's cancer ward just by mistake. And then when I applied to go to Saudi Arabia to work for 6 years, although I was only going for a year in the beginning, I ended up staying 6. I found myself again within a cancer award for children and young people with cancer. So I always tell the students, well, why did you pick cancer as a speciality, Wendy? But I always tell the students, well, I didn't. The speciality actually chose me because once I got into my role, I actually loved the continuity, getting to know the children and the young people and the families, and it actually suited the type of nursing that I wanted to embed my career within and go further within. And I always loved education because I used to always challenge the people that I worked with that always wanted to do the things that they wanted to do this way because this is the way it's been done for the last 20 years. And I used to always think, well, no, there must be an easier way to give chemotherapy than this, or there must be an easier way to put the central venous catheter medication into the patient than this, or it must be an easier way to change the dressing. So I was always questioning things, and I always wanted to know more about what could be better for the patients and their families. So that's when I ended up finding myself as a practice educator and wanting to learn more so that I could change the care if required. Now, we know that not all care needs to be changed, and there's a great saying that if it's not broken, don't fix it. But if you're doing ritualistic practice for the sake of it, and it needs to be according to what the evidence base is, then that's what we should be doing. And we know that that's very challenging, and we know it's not easy to change practice, but that's where your leadership skills come into play and working as a team. So I was always interested in my role as a practice educator, and I got a big role within Great Ormond Street in London, and I really loved that job, and I was there for 6 years, and then I decided I wanted to come back home to Edinburgh because this is where I belong, and I was lucky enough to get a lecturer practice educator job. So I did work for a while within the Children and Young People's Hospital in Edinburgh, and then I got a joint appointment with one of the universities where I could link the theory to the practice. And I really thought, oh, this is my really dream job. But actually it didn't suit me too well because I'm a bit of a person that I like to give things 100%, and I found it really hard to juggle doing a good job within the practice setting and then doing a really good job within higher education institution. So when a full-time job actually came up as an academic within the university, I applied for it. And to cut a long story short, that was 15 years ago. And I did start off developing and delivering children and young people's modules. I delivered a theory module and a practice cancer specialist module. But like most of these specialist modules, if they're not viable to run, and if you don't have more than 20 students on them, you weren't allowed to run them anymore. So we had to get creative about how we were going to deliver this education for children and young people. So that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years within my previous job. And I've brought these skills on board with me to the Open University, where I'm now thinking of how I'm going to deliver this cancer education for children and young people, not just within the undergraduate nursing programme, but also at postgraduate level. But I'm not wanting to reinvent the wheel, because if there's already modules out there, then what would be a different way to deliver education that's not already there? And part of keeping myself up to date and credible was that I actually registered as a fellow with the Higher Education Academy within the UK. And that gives me the recognition as a senior lecturer field lead within my field of children and young people's nursing. And I did embark on my PhD, the traditional PhD, 5 years ago. And I wanted to do something around teenagers and young people, mainly because I always loved looking after the teenagers, because there were always a group of patients who brought challenges with them. And yeah, and I used to always think, well, where are we going to put wee Johnny today, because he's now 14, he's not 10 anymore, and he doesn't want to be in the ward situation next to a child that you're maybe nursing at the same time. So I was always interested in, oh, where do teenagers and young people actually fit within the cancer journey, and have they actually got different needs? Well, yes, they do. So I was always interested in TYA. So that's what I looked at with my PhD, specifically around the disease of malignant melanoma. And what I'm going to do with what I've found from that experience is obviously to keep up my writing skills, but also to present my findings at different conferences and things, to share what I have found within this specialist field. So I think that's me. So now over to Eugenia for my questions. You're on mute, Eugenia. Sorry, do you want to unmute?
Sorry.
There you go.
Now. So I have been hearing you, Wendy. I am so happy because at the end of the way, we have all of us doing almost the same thing. That means you in UK and I in Spain, but both of us have been working in pediatric and young adults and enjoying so much, because for me, it's the thing that I like the most. I mean, every year I know new children, I know new families, and I enjoy so much to know them, working with them. So of course there are some of them that they are not so lucky in the treatment and they need more treatment, and some of them they need palliative care. But is to work with these children and to work with the family is something that is the most important thing that a nurse can do, and bring them the best case that we are able to do. And that is one part of our job, but the other part to teach new young nurses, that teach them that our career, our profession is not only to administer chemotherapy or giving pills or changing dress. No, there are too much things that we have to do. Is have relationship with the families, have relationship with the children. We are not only going to the room and baby, take that, or mama, give that to the child. No, 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 no. There are so many things that we have to do and that we have to teach to these new young cancer nurses, because there are things that you are never going to learn in the book or in the classroom. You are going to learn this day by day with experienced nurse by side. So I think that is the most important thing that we have to transmit to the other nurses. No, I think so. I am so happy hearing you.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, what I didn't tell you was in the early 1990s, which is what, how many years ago is that? Nearly 20 odd.
No.
When I came back home to Edinburgh, that was the key thing, because it was the doctors that administered the chemotherapy and accessed the central venous catheters and things. So that was my prime role, was to educate the nurses to be able to give the chemotherapy and to access the central venous catheters, whether they had a portocath or a CVC. So that was one of my key responsibilities, as it were. And then one of the reasons we developed the education through the higher education institution was because, just like you said, Eugenia, that it's okay, you know, you can teach anyone a skill, but it's good to have the education behind that skill, so that the nurses have the knowledge and understanding of what it is that they're doing. So
Yeah.
that was very important. And you did ask me when we were going through these slides, did I ever have any regrets, and did I miss practice, and did I miss the children and young people? Well, actually, I did have some anxieties that I would, but the funny thing is, I still engaged with practice, because that's one of the things I have been able to do, is to keep links with groups of nurses who are also interested in cancer, the same as myself. And I've kept those links going over the years. But I've also been a link lecturer, or I've had honorary contracts where I've been able to go in and keep my links with practice, and I've found that that's been beneficial to me throughout my career. And I did think I would miss the children and young people, but actually the students took the place of the children and young people, because they wanted to learn, and I just found that that wasn't the part of the job that I did actually miss. I enjoyed it when I was doing it, but different things become the norm, as it were, within your new roles. Yeah, I think going into higher education was right for me at that time in my life.
And what did you need? That is one question that is right here, but I think that you already answered this. What did you need to teach? It's already answered that, because it's part of our life, I think.
Yeah, so mostly around the chemotherapy and the CVCs, but something that I was instrumental in bringing to one of the hospitals in Edinburgh, and it was developed by a chap called Stephen Rowley in the early 1990s, and he developed something from evidence that it was called in the aseptic non-touch technique. So you did not have to access everything within a sterile field, and this actually was revolutionary within the care of children and young people with cancer.
That is also that I always talking with the new nurses. That means you need to be sure that what you are doing, and you have to have the knowledge, the skills, and be proud. In one hand, be proud of yourself. Know what you are doing. You don't need to call the doctor for everything. There are so many things that there are nurses. You don't need the doctor comes and saying you have to do this or this. No, 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 no. I know that I have to do this and this and this. After maybe I will tell him I am doing that or I am doing that or we agree on what we have to do. But you have enough knowledge and enough experience for doing so many things and start doing it in one emergency and in the day by day. That is my feeling. So the next question will be, why oncology?
Well, I think I've answered that one too, because it didn't choose me. It chose me, I didn't choose it. But once I got into it, I really enjoyed working with children and young people. That's where I wanted to spend the rest of my professional career. But as I said 15 years ago, when this opportunity arose to go into education, what's been hard is I've had to widen all the other things that I'm teaching. It's not just oncology. I teach lots of other things as well. So, and what are the next steps for me? Well, who knows? But at the moment, what I'm planning to do is to make sure I produce from my PhD, because I think that's the most important thing, is to get at least 3 or 4 papers from a PhD, and then you're ready to apply for a grant for further research. So that's probably what I'll do. But I think we've heard enough from me now. I think we should go on to yourself, Eugenia. So let's hear what you've got to say.
I wrote a lot of things there. Maybe there are so many of them that Celia already said that. Well, about me, I start as a licensed nurse in Valencia here. And I started working for the public system, but I was tired of doing the same thing so quickly. So I moved to Geneva in Switzerland. I have been working there in theater, in gynecology theater for almost 3 years. And after this, I came back to Valencia again. And I started working in pediatric. I have to say that before to go to Geneva, I have studied the specialty of pediatric, but I never worked in pediatric work. It has been in the university, I started the specialty, and after this, when I came back to Valencia, I started working in pediatric. And at the same time, I have been studying a master's degree in bioethics. Nowadays, I am part of the bioethical board of the hospital, and teach. I think that there are my preferred things that I did, because I like a lot the bioethical, to think about what is the best thing for the patients, behind our thought, or behind what the physician think, on what all the committee think, is something that I like. The discussion, find the agreement, what is the best thing for the patient at that moment, is something that I like a lot. And after this, I studied a master's degree in hematological, because when I came back to Valencia, the first day, the nurses director from the hospital said, okay, you are going to work in oncology. Do you like? And I said, well, I never worked there, so, but let me try. And at that moment, I thought that I am not going to move anymore because I like so much. There are so many things to learn in oncology and of course in hematological transplant. Every day is a challenge. So that is that I think that I like the most. And well, some years I am volunteering in Batalapalli in India. And also I have been volunteered in Barstow in Ireland. And and there in Barstow you can see the other side of the oncology. You can see the children in the nature. And it's a very, very nice place that I recommend for all the nurses to spend 1 month there because you can see the children and the teenagers, but far away from the family, just enjoying what could be the horses, could be the archery, climbing, and that is different. It's different to give the pills when the child is in the horses. That changed a lot from the hospital. And after this, well, I am working, I am collaborating with the Latin America because there are so many nurses there that they are starting now with the transplant. So we are helping them with the quality program and with, of course, with the transplant program also. And what more? Well, I am in the education group of the EONS. I think that is enough.
Yeah, I forgot to put the education working group, but I'm on it too. Okay, so I've got some questions. Is that okay?
Yes, why not?
Okay, so when did you know you wanted to work within children and young people with cancer?
I think that because I think that having the first time when I started working in pediatric oncology, I went there, I saw the children, and at that point I went in the old hospital, a very, very old hospital, and after this we moved to the new one 10 years ago, and the new one is nice, big hospital, but in the old one, the things was quite different. But I enjoy so much when the children are discharged, when you are teaching the parents how to deal with this kind of illness. And after this, when they are discharged and you can see them to come back and say, hello, I am okay, that's perfect.
Okay. Did you have any knowledge or experience prior to working within the specialty?
Well, I have knowledge in pediatric, not in oncology, specific in oncology, but just in pediatric, because I have been studying for 2 years pediatric here in Valencia. So, but oncology, I have been learning after this.
Okay. Now, what qualifications did you require to become a nurse educator? So, for example, I needed to become a fellow of the Higher Education Academy.
You have to have, of course, a master's degree. And I did 2 in bioetical and also in transplant. And you have to have experience in the field that you are teaching. You have to have a very long CV and specialized CVs and have experience. I mean, I have been working in pediatric oncology for 30 years, so I have quite a lot of experience.
Yeah. What about a teaching qualification?
Sorry?
No. Do you need to have a teaching qualification?
No.
No.
No, not real. So if I want to become PhD, yes. So next step will be the PhD, and at that point I need, but not now, not now yet.
And what's the next steps for you within your professional career? What do you plan to do?
Well, I have two steps that I want. First, it will be the PhD, and
Okay.
and it will be. I think that I want to make some research in palliative care that I would like to do. And also, I have been thinking, I will be retired in 2 years. So maybe after this, I will be working in India, in Batalapalli, because they need experienced nurses and volunteers. So I will be more than happy spending 6 months a year in Batalapalli.
So you could do your PhD within palliative care and that would marry the two of them?
I will try. I will try.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're coming up to near the end now, but this is just some of the educational opportunities that are through EONS that we just wanted to make you aware of. So we've got the EONS Congress that happen every year. ESO events, that's the European School of Oncology, that EONS and the education group work very closely with. We deliver at least 6 to 8 webinars similar to what you've been having with the Nightingale Challenge. But there's also other educational opportunities that are led by medics. And there's really good pathways within ESO if you are keen to have a look at any more education. There's also Touch Oncology, cancer nursing courses through Titan or Target, which EONS have developed. Obviously the Nightingale webinars, and just a whole array really. You can see the list there, and the leadership workshop that Lena Sharp would have talked about in her webinar, the research workshop. I've actually been on the PhD workshop myself, and the leadership workshop, where I think I met Eugenia. Was it in Dublin? Was that, how many years ago was that? I can't remember, but we have been on the leadership that was run by Danny Kelly and Maria Cable and Sam Smith.
Yes. I will enjoy so much.
And the PhD workshop was run by Mary Wells. So lots of great educational opportunities are still out there for young cancer nurses to develop their education around their speciality. So don't ever feel you're alone.
So I have to say something else.
Okay.
That means Sarah Colomer, that is now in the research committee, and she is in the loop now. She was young cancer nurse with me in my unit when Sarah, how many years ago? I think about maybe 15 years ago. She went in Valencia, in my hospital. She was a young cancer nurse, very young, and we have been working together. And after this, I said, you have to do more things, go ahead. And after this, she went to Barcelona. After this, she went to Rotterdam. And now I am very proud of herself because now she went in Vienna, and now she's working with Manuela in Lausanne. And I think that I have something like this in this kind of people that she's now. Hello, Sarah.
Okay. So I think now it's open to questions. I think we're coming up to 17:45. So is there any questions?
Thank you. Eugenia. Thank you, Wendy. This was a really interesting presentation because we all wanted to know how did you start your career. We have a few questions from the audience, and we have some comments. I would like to read it to you. Colleague said, Eugenia is a ray of sunshine. She has a great energy. You can see that she is enjoying and is happy to share the knowledge and experience she has. I think it refers to you both. It is very important to love what you do, like Eugenia and Wendy. So it is really nice to see that you have the passion to work with the children and those families. And I was interested in that. Do you take your work home? Because children are, you bond with your patients, especially children. So do you take your work home or?
Well, I'll start first, and then Eugenia can go after me. As a young cancer nurse, I would say it was difficult sometimes when you would get quite involved with patients and their families who, you know, well, we've all been there, we'll do it. You know, there's some that you really get attached to and they're maybe not going to do so well. So I think what's important here is that you have the support of your team and you have debriefing sessions after, so that you're not carrying this weight of on your shoulders all on your own. We had something, it's actually raising its head again, but early 1990s, called clinical supervision, where you reflected on your practice and you talked through the incident, of whether it be positive or not so positive, so you could learn from it. Because, you know, as one child goes out the door, hopefully, another one is coming in. So it's important that you've got to look after yourself first and foremost as a nurse and a person, so you can look after other people. So that's a very important point.
Thank you. It's a valuable advice.
Yes. I agree. I totally agree with her. She she say what I think, that you need to be aware that you are also a nurse, but you can't, of course, you are always involved with the children and with the families, and so many times you are crying with them, but also you are happy when they are living and they are well. But be aware, you have to do the best things that you can do, and of course is being the best nurses for them.
Thank you.
I have a question from one of the in the answer box, and it was going to be one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. That is that you have both worked abroad. Would you advise that for young cancer nurses as part of the career development?
Only
you both spoke about what it brings to you.
Only if you want to. Only if you want to. It's not important. It does give you different experience, and it's good to work with different nurses from across the globe. I worked with a lot of nurses from the Philippines, a lot of nurses from Asia, and their nursing care was next to none. I mean, I did really learn an awful lot from different nurses from different areas of the globe, for sure.
Thank you.
And as I said, I only planned to stay for a year, Celia, and I actually ended up staying 6. But I don't know if that gave me my thirst for being part of EONS, being part of different sort of societies that I've engaged with along my journey, my professional journey. You know, I've always been keen to learn about cancer care, not just from a local or a national perspective, but from an international perspective, so that what Eugenia said, we can share and learn from one another.
Yeah. I totally agree with Wendy. That means you don't need to go abroad, but it's not mandatory, but it's something that is interesting to do. Because first, because if you are most experienced that people from the other countries, in low and middle income countries, if you come from UK or from Spain, your knowledge, your experience is going to be a bit better or bigger than the other people's. And it's nice to share what you need, what you know with them. I told you that to work in Batarapali with the things that they have there is something that is nice to share with them. If you have more knowledge about something, dressing, catheter, emergency, it's nice to share this knowledge with them and to push them to get more knowledge and to show them what they can learn nowadays, because all of us have mobile, all of us have TV, all of us have a computer, so they have so many ways to learn, and you have to show this to them. So it's something that I like to do. Of course, to dress a CV is the same here that in India, but you have here more things than over there. But you can always teach something. Something that in 2 years when I was retired, all these things only for me is for nothing. It's something important if I am able to share this with them. But if all the experience that they have are there for me, it's for nothing. That means we need in some way to share this with all people.
Thank you,
That's my
Eugenia.
idea, at least.
Thank you.
If nobody wants to go abroad, I would encourage them to, you know, become members of different societies, because that can help to share from all across the globe, or to present at conferences. You know, go to conferences. Don't always have to present, but yeah, that's a good tip.
Thank you. We have another question from Virpi. Wendy, how do you keep the passion to cancer nursing on and reflect that to your students? Do you have any tips?
Well, definitely from the European Oncology Nursing Education Group and the Advocacy Group, all the groups, the 4 groups that are with EONS. And it's just something I've always been passionate about. I read an awful lot. I like to keep up to date with what's going on with children and young people, especially. Yeah, and just making sure that my research is focused within something that I feel passionate about. I think that's really key. Especially when I was doing my PhD, I thought if I've got to get through this, because a lot of people don't get to the end of it, it's very important you pick something that you feel passionate about and that sustains you through. What was the last question?
Any tips?
Tips. Stay connected with people that think the same as yourself, and share your ideas and grow from one another.
I have a question for you both. I know that you both have worked together in this presentation. and that you have shared a lot about what you have done in both of your countries. Would you like to bring anything from the other person to your country, or from what happens in Spain to the UK, or from what happens to the UK to Spain?
Wendy?
Well, I don't think so, because we've already been to Spain and looked across, and I think what we've got here already. I think we could learn a lot about the education and develop education so that it fits for all nurses across Spain, all of Europe, and here in the UK, and I think that's what we're trying to look at within EONS and ESO, to look to see if we can make sure that it's consistent, standard, and equitable, so that all young cancer nurses can develop a career if they so wish to do that in the next few years, as it were. What do you think, Eugenia?
Well, something that I would like to bring from UK to Spain is the respect. The respect that I mean, if you are an oncology nurse and you have a career developing oncology, you are always going to work in oncology. And there are a respect of your knowledge and in your experience. And nowadays in Spain, things are not like this. That means the public health system needs nurses everywhere. And doesn't matter if you are trained in oncology, in surgery, or
You okay?
You okay?
Yes, now yes. Doesn't matter if you are training in in surgery or in oncology or whatever. It's not because of the pandemic. It's because things nowadays are like this. If you are needed in neurology and you are a background in oncology, doesn't matter. You are going to neurology. And this lack of respect or your experience is something that I don't like. It's for that reason that I like this from UK. In UK, you are trained, you are your background, you are your course in oncology, you are going to work always in oncology. In that, doesn't happen in Spain nowadays. That is something that I don't like at all.
Thank you, Eugenia.
You're welcome.
So Eugenia, you answered half of Virpi's question. Virpi asked, how do you think cancer nurses are prepared in bioethics? The first part was about respect.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you make the question again?
How do you think cancer nurses are prepared in bioethics?
I think that I made the master's degree because the first question that the teacher asked the first day that I went to the course in bioethical is why you decide to doing this degree. And I thought, because I want to learn how to think. That is my answer. I need to learn how to think about several things. And that's helping me in making decisions. That is something that I think that is important.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a great advices. I'm just sorry to say that we are out of time. Do you have maybe anything to add for this evening's webinar? No? Okay. I was really honored to hear this, and the co-chair, I heard a lot of great advices from you and from your experience. It was really, really interesting for me. And we are looking forward to our last webinar. And I would just want to say, have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. You all have a nice evening too, and thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.